What up, good people? Welcome into the Full Coverage Football Show. My name is Jeremy. Thank you for watching us tonight. We got a good show planned for you. We're going to talk about last weekend. We're going to preview this weekend. We're going to do some second guessing, and we got Ward's Wagers coming up. All that and more, and you know the show, we're going to say what we're kind of going to talk about, but we have no idea where the show is actually going to go. So, we'll see you on the other side of this. What is up, everyone? We are running at you like Saquon Barkley is running off against the Washington football team. My name is Jeremy. As I said, that is my tag team partner, Mr. Drew Ward at Detroit 7. Bro, how you doing?
I'm doing well. You're already choppy, so we're getting off to a good start.
Already choppy?
Good to see. Yeah, you're already all choppy all over there. But you know, it's nice to see Saquon Barkley. Listen. He's a Penn State kid. I think Saquon Barkley is a huge talent. All of us want to see Saquon Barkley play well, and
100%.
Nobody wants him to be riddled with injury. And so it's good to see him off and running just shy of 50 yards on 4 carries. So you love to see it. Although, you know, you also like to see Washington's offense do more than a 3 and out, but here we are.
Yeah, Washington's offense is going to put that great defense in a lot of bad situations.
They got negative 3 yards right now. Negative 3 yards. So,
that, folks,
it's not great.
For those of you who don't know football well, I don't know why you're watching the show if that's the case, but
this is not golf. -3 would be good in golf. In football, this is not good. It's not good.
Football, I have a better chance of getting -3 than I do in golf. So, hey, I am as good as the Washington offensive line right now. Listen, this is the kind of game, you know, we've come to know and love on Thursday nights, where it's okay teams, it's an okay matchup, but it's nothing pretty. What the NFL did to us is last week, they're like, hey, it's our first date. You know, we're going to show our best. We're going to shave. We're going to clean. We're going to put on the nice cologne. And then week 2, they're like, we've been married for 10 years. I'm going to come upstairs in my holy-ass boxers with one sock on, and I'm going to hop in bed next to you smelling like dog shit. Like, that's where it is right now. Like, that's how they move on. But
it's beautiful. The NFL can know, they're like, listen, there's a chance Ryan Fitzpatrick will be, you know, like they could be okay, but then, you know, Ryan Fitzpatrick goes down, and you realize that, yeah, this is NFL kind of knew what was going to happen. Even if it was Ryan Fitzpatrick, I still think that this game is kind of what we all expected. We are back to Thursday night, baby, and it feels good. It feels good to root for ugly football. Ugly football is better than no football, as far as I'm concerned.
You, sir, are 100% correct. Let's talk about last weekend. Let's get into it. We'll start with the pro game. We'll move into the college game. What stood out to you last weekend?
The Packers losing
yes,
by 33 points. The Houston Texans and the way that they showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Just the entire Cleveland Browns Kansas City game was delightful.
Absolutely. Even though they lost, my Browns, but it was a delightful game.
Yeah, it was a great game. I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point. But
Chase Young's a fucking man.
Yeah. I mean, it was an interesting week. Zach Wilson struggled. I mean, there's just the things that really stood out to me, though, was definitely the way the Green Bay Packers played. I know LASIK Jameis. I expected him to throw for 6 or 7 touchdowns. I think he had 5. So that was something that I expected personally.
But did you expect those first 4 touchdowns to be on
I took the Packers
yards
and the
passing?
money. Yeah, listen, Jameis it doesn't matter for him. He'll throw it 100, he'll throw it 10. But no, the Packers certainly stood out to me. And again, I think Justin Herbert stood out to me again last week, although many people may not be talking about it in the stats, which were still good. They seven drops overall for that offense. 2 were dimes in the end zone. So I think Justin Herbert continues to stand out for me and continues to make me look like an ass. And you.
Hey, no, this is the home of the Herbert Hive, baby.
That's right. I forgot about that. We were in the hive. That's right.
Since like week 6 of last year, we have been nothing but the biggest Justin Herbert supporters. And yeah, we've admitted it a million times on the show. We did not like the kid coming out, but you know what? He is one of my favorite players to watch in the NFL. And we have apologized a million times. That's one thing I love about us. We'll come on here and be like, listen, we were morons.
We trashed Justin Herbert.
Yes, we did. He's like, you know what? He's like, you guys, I don't care what these idiots say. Who are these guys? He's like, I'm going to cut my hair. I'm going to look like a 12-year-old boy. I'm going to go out there and just destroy teams. That's what he's done. I will say this. 31 of 47, I believe, is what his final numbers were. He was excellent, especially against that Washington defensive front. He won that game for them. Yes, Keenan Allen's still one of the most underrated receivers in this league, maybe the most underrated receiver.
Healthy Keenan Allen is a top 5 wide.
The route running for Keenan Allen. He literally walks up to Chase Young and says, hey, if you guys are in man, we're going to beat you right now. And they do it. That's absolutely what they did. Chargers are going to be a fun team. Now, can Austin Eckler stay healthy enough to make them go far, or is it going to end up being
I feel like with him and Keenan Allen, right? Mm-hmm. You need both guys healthy for 17 games or 16 games, right? Well, no, 17 games.
Yeah.
And that's seriously, that's the question, because I think Justin Herbert's good enough, and I think the defense is good enough to really be a contending team. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team, but I certainly think they're a playoff team. In the way that they won that game, they had a bad break, right? They had a ball that was called a fumble out of the back of the end zone where the ball went 15 yards, and you can argue how the hell does the ball go 15 yards if it's a fumble. Regardless, it was a really tough break, and they still found a way to come back and win that football game against a really nice defense, right? A defense that we have a lot of respect for and think's going to be really good.
Listen, we've said on this show a million times, it's our favorite defense to watch. The reason I'm watching this game tonight, not for Danny Dimes, because Danny Dimes hasn't thrown a dime since his rookie year, I feel like. He's basically Danny, hey, they're not covering me, I'm going to run in the end zone. That's
be careful. You're going to get the New Yorkers coming after you, and they're an angry people.
New Yorkers. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
They're an angry people.
Let's go. Hey, whoa. I got to ask you this before we move on. Where'd the hat go, bro?
I don't know, man. I couldn't get the thing going. It might come back later, but for now, we're going with just straight. You haven't, nobody, I don't think I've ever done a show without a hat on. This is a change.
Surprise. Drew's not bald.
I'm not. I'm not bald. Very much not bald.
But another
also
game.
Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, you need to show me some respect with the way the Arizona Cardinals started the season. Kyler Murray was pretty damn good.
Hey, listen, I said I think they're the worst team in that division. I'm not going to go away from that just yet. It's early. But showed out. They played against a really good football team in Tennessee, and they dominated that game.
Embarrassed them.
Chandler Jones said, hey, I think y'all need to pay me. Let me show you why. 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles against a stud left tackle, usually, in Taylor Lewan. He just tore him up all day long.
My favorite part about Taylor Lewan is he came out and said, hey, I got my ass kicked.
Yeah, and there are people who are like, why are you coming out right after the game and saying that? He's admitting it. Man up. I appreciate that. Don't give excuses. He got his ass handed to him. What else is he going to say?
He did.
Oh, I didn't get the help, my guys. No, you're not going to blame it on anything other than that. You got your ass handed to you. Take the L, move on. Kyler, that little boy, man, that little elf running around on the field, that little brother running around.
He had a Madden play, dude. He had a Madden play where it's just absurd. It was like the back when the 04 Madden with Mike Vick, like where you could just run, you could run backwards 80 yards and still go for a touchdown. Yeah. It's kind of where it was. Kyler was awesome, and just again, the plethora of weapons on that team is just fantastic. And I actually forgot James Conner was a member of that team. And he's wearing number 2, which I don't know if it makes him look slower or faster. Or maybe it's 6. But I don't know if it makes him look slower or faster, though, because like slower. I feel like it makes him look slower, where I feel like the single numbers for most like wideouts and skill position makes him look faster. I'm not sure.
James Conner rocking number 6.
Yeah, there's no like statistics to back up these comments. But damn it, he looks slower than he normally does. But
James Conner looked like a husky quarterback wearing number 6.
And I also found myself watching football, and I'm like, who is that guy? Where normally I'm just like, I know I know a guy that makes a play.
Yep.
I know all the kind of everybody on defense. Like I know them based off their number because you certainly can't see their name while you're watching TV. And then I'm like, there's defensive backs wearing 4? Like I mean, it's tough.
We are relearning numbers. Like I watched Diami Brown just make a catch. Number 2. I'm like, wait, who's 2 on Washington? I'm like, oh yeah, Diami Brown. By the way, I think that kid's going to be a stud. I really like that they picked him up. But talking Arizona, man, respect to them. They balled out. Excellent game for them. And Tennessee just didn't look right. Derrick Henry never got going. But was it that their offense wasn't moving without Arthur Smith, or was it that the defense just played that well for Arizona?
I mean, it's a mix of both, actually.
Okay.
I mean, this offense is always going to tend to struggle when their running game can't get going, right? I mean, Ryan Tannehill's not a guy that's going to drop 35, 40 times back and throw it, right? I mean, he's going to drop back that many times, but he's not going to have those attempts. So for me, it's tough to say, okay, yeah, Arthur Smith's gone, that's the reasoning. But without their running game going early, and I'm not sitting here saying that it's an issue because I certainly don't think it is. Right, I think Tennessee will be able to get their running game going, but overall, it's tough when you're Tennessee. If you're not running the ball consistently, Ryan Tannehill's not a kind of 5-step drop, sit in the pocket passer. That's just not who he is. He's great off the play action, and he's shown that. But I think that's what they struggled with, and the problem was their defense got gashed too. And then the problem is when your offense is not on the field, you're just gassed, especially in week 1. Which I think a lot of people overreact to week 1. A lot of these key players on each side of the ball haven't played 4 quarters of real football.
Yep.
And so I think that, we need to ease our way into the season and not overreact to too many things.
100% with you. And speaking of Arthur Smith, his team, Atlanta, got throttled by the Philadelphia Eagles, who we thought looked terrible in preseason, but you got to remember how good that defensive line is. And they showed it this week. Now, is Atlanta as bad as they looked, or is this just a team that said, we haven't played any of our starters in the preseason? They're going to take a little bit to gel. What do you think's going on with Atlanta?
I don't think they're as bad as they were.
Okay.
Again, though, like here's the funny thing that we hear every offseason. Oh, the Houston Texans may go 0-17. It takes a special team in a special city to lose every game. And there's a reason that there's only been 2 of them to do it. So we're in the NFL, which is a league of parity, right? Like teams are set up. It's not like the NBA structure or the Major League Baseball structure to a bigger extent, to where we're not set up to prosper in this market. Like it's set up for parity, which is the most crazy part why our teams have sucked our whole lives. But so for me, you look at guys like teams like Houston. Okay, yeah, you think they lose every game, but what team are we even talking about? I'm over here on a rant.
Atlanta Falcons.
Oh yeah, the Falcons. So, Christ Almighty. No, I don't think the Falcons are as bad as they looked. Their offense looked terrible. Matt Ryan got hit a lot, and the Philadelphia Eagles, who had Nick Sirianni and that coaching staff had a really nice game plan. They were able to run the ball. You want to talk about how good their front 4 is defensively. That offensive line is meant to be hog mollies and just run the football. And they did a nice job of that, which is something they didn't do last season. With Kenneth Gainwell and Miles Sanders, they both were efficient running the ball. And I think Justin Hurts is kind of – they're figuring out how to use Justin Hurts to an extent where Jalen Hurts, Jesus Lord, I'm all over the place. Jalen Hurts to an extent where like they started, he can definitely move out of the pocket, but now they're figuring out how to kind of hone that in with the running game and an RPO, and Devontae Smith also got involved with the
Yep.
touchdown. So you just love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. We were sitting here talking about how Philadelphia was one of the worst teams we'd seen in the preseason. Obviously, preseason. We said, yes, it's just preseason. We didn't know what Sirianni was going to do, but they came out excellent game plan and beat up on a team that looked completely inferior to them. Falcons, I don't think they're that good, but they're definitely not as bad as what we saw. Now, talking about a team that we've talked about how bad they are, that's the Houston Texans. Now, the Texans come out and they just whooped on Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I said there's a possibility they're bad enough to go in 17. Didn't think they'd actually do it, but there was a possibility. That's how bad that roster is. But what we saw this week is basically what we saw last year out of Jacksonville, where Jacksonville won week 1 because they came out hungry to prove everyone wrong, and they got one win. Houston came out, a bunch of veterans on that team, against a team that hadn't really proven anything, a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach. And they said, listen, we are a solid team, a lot of vets. We're still here. Let us do what we do. And they stomped them. That's exactly what they did. Now, this week, Houston has a much tougher challenge when they come to Cleveland to play the Browns, who are 0-1. We'll see how good that team really is. For Houston, we kind of expect them not to be that great. Now, Jacksonville, there's all this talk about Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer just...
It's the best, isn't it?
It's already...
Anywhere Urban Meyer goes, there's talk about Urban Meyer. Like,
he's such a jerk. He's yelling at his coaches. The vets don't respect him. Is this going to work out in Jacksonville? Or is it just too damn early?
It's way too early, but man, it just... Urban Meyer brings in a college mentality to a locker room. And so when you're at the college level, you have to take into consideration that there's also a recruiting aspect to it.
Yep.
And when you're at a university like Ohio State, and I know we went to Bowling Green into Florida with national championships there, and went to Ohio State, won national championship there. You have to think of it like this. So with the recruiting aspect, you're getting all the guys based off of the school you are, right?
Yep.
The school you are, you're going to get guys based off that. And I am 100% sure that Urban Meyer's great in living rooms with families and things of that nature, right?
No doubt.
So I'd almost be certain of that. But now we're at a different level and you bring a different mentality in the locker room. It just, the fact that there's always noise surrounding Urban Meyer is always somewhat concerning. Mm-hmm. Do I think Urban Meyer is the kind of guy that would just leave and go take USC's job? To be honest with you, of all the dudes, that would be that guy. That's that guy.
When we were talking about Urban Meyer possibly taking this job, where did I keep saying I think his dream job is? Mm-hmm. I kept saying it was USC. And then all of a sudden, USC opens up right after week 1, after all this drama comes out.
How are you USC and can your coach after 2 weeks? Listen, it's like, you're in or you're out. You can't just like fire a coach after 2 weeks.
They never were sold on Clay Helton. They were never sold on him. He was the interim guy, and he got the team to look fairly good. And they're like, yep, let's hire him. And we always say on the show, you never hire the interim guy. He never got him over the hump. He was never going to get any better than what they were.
Outside of Freddie Kitchens.
I mean, yeah, Freddie Kitchens was the guy you had to hire, but he was interim offensive coordinator. And Freddie coached football. He drives a bus now. He's driving the bus. Anyway, speaking of Freddie Kitchens, he's on the sideline for this Thursday night game. Exciting to see Freddie. Freddie, great guy. Horrible head coach. But USC, it just makes no sense. We'll get into college in a little bit, but I could see Urban at the end of this year, or if things don't go well, maybe Shad Khan's like, you know what? I see that it's not going well. Let's cut our losses now and move on. Now let's talk about
Terry McLaurin's really good. I think Terry McLaurin's really, really good. That's all I have to say about that.
6th-round guy. Like, how did he fall? At Ohio State, he just got overlooked by Michael Thomas and the other players he played with. I get that. But when you watched him at Ohio State, he was always open, always running past people. And that's big for me because I got him in fantasy. Points, baby. Let's talk about a team that we expected to be really good in the Buffalo Bills. And a team that I keep saying I don't think is that good, could finish under 500 the first time in their head coach's entire career, in the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the fact that the Steelers in Orchard Park walk out of Buffalo with a win. What happened there? Buffalo falling apart? They not that good? Steelers better than we expected? Or is it a mix of a bunch of random ass things?
Maybe it's a mix of both. Maybe it's a mix of both, but it's week 1. The Steelers didn't blitz at all. Like it was a different game plan from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Josh. Of course, they didn't look good. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't throw the ball. Pittsburgh's defense looked really good, which is surprising because we've talked about the moving parts there and the parts that they've lost. But a Mike Tomlin coach team's always going to be good. However, yeah, that's right. But you look at the offensive side of the ball, and I don't think Pittsburgh overwhelmed me offensively. You can't tell me that Big Ben's back and Big Ben's this or that. I just think it was the defense really just put the clamps on the Bills' offense, which is really hard to fathom with what you think of what the Bills' offense did last year. I chalk it up to 1 week. But I will say that Pittsburgh defense is better than I expected week 1.
I'll say this. Pittsburgh's still not that good. That offense is terrible. And when we get to our next segment, second guessing, I'm going to second guess the Pittsburgh Steelers and their decision to keep Ben Roethlisberger as their main quarterback with no really backup plan because I don't trust Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins yet. That offense, trash. They don't win that game without the defense being unstoppable and that special teams touchdown. Now, the problem with Buffalo is Josh Allen threw the ball 51 times. If you're going to be one-dimensional against Pittsburgh Steelers where you know that Melvin Ingram and TJ Watt can just rush, they're going to kick your ass because they're going to beat their man one-on-one most times. So when you can't run the ball or you're stopping running the ball and you're letting Josh Allen throw 51 times, Steelers have a chance to beat you. You have to be two-dimensional to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, or else you're going to let them basically pin back your ears and run right at you. That's how... I mean, you look at what they do on defense. It's all about that front four. It's all about TJ Watt, what they can do, because the rest of that secondary, Minka Fitzpatrick,
TJ Watt really good at football. TJ Watt is
football.
Very, very good football player.
I mean, don't throw the football 50 some times. Try to work in the run.
They will.
And I think that it will.
They will.
But you also have Zach Moss as a healthy scratch.
Well, disappearance. Yeah. I don't even know what's going on there, but you got to think in the first game of the year, they wanted to go out. They wanted to get Diggs going. They wanted to get the guys going. They started throwing early, and then the problem was they backed off. They tried to run. They didn't run successfully early on, and so they just went right back to the passing game and just completely, didn't even think about running the football. Again, you look at the score of the game and you watch the game. The game was never out of hand.
No,
to where they couldn't try to go back to the run and establish something. They just chose not to. Mm-hmm. And to your point, not even that they could pin their ears back. They could just drop in coverage, knowing that there's no threat of them running the football. And I think that made it difficult for Josh Allen for sure.
Yeah, Minka just takes over center field. Joe Hayden's still a pretty solid cornerback, can hang with guys. Not 100% of the time, but when you got Melvin Ingram and TJ Watt going at your quarterback, it doesn't have to.
Yeah, the Melvin Ingram edition is somewhat scary.
Sneaky.
But Melvin Ingram only plays 7 games.
Yeah. If he can play 9, they could win 8. Still think that. But that offense, I mean, come on. That offense is not.
No, the offense is trash. Like I said, it's not like the offense did show me anything.
Ben looks old.
Yeah, every throw from Ben that I saw, and granted, I was watching Red Zone, so I'm not going to act like I was pulling out the all 22 on this. It was on the other screen because the Browns did play at 4 1/4, but every throw they showed it just wasn't good.
Hang on, did you just see the Danny Dimes throw a second ago here? Wide open guy, and he
throws it in the ground.
No, he throws like 9 feet over his head. Like, he had a clean pocket, and I'm like, oh, he's got this. No, it was.
That's why I was my brother-in-law, who's new to fantasy. He's new to fantasy, and I said to him, listen, man, I expect there to be a turnover at some point in this game. It'll happen. Danny Dimes is just. This is kind of his. This year has to be the final hurrah. Like if he doesn't show signs this year, and I know it's early. What's second year? Third year. Yeah, third year. Then yeah, I feel like that's kind of like where you have to cut the ties at, and then he'll go be a backup for some team.
I mean, to be fair to him, his offensive line's still not very good, but they've got weapons there. You've got Galladay, you've got Saquon, you've got, Sterling Shepard. That defensive line is just nasty.
So fun.
So good.
Shoot.
Now, let's move on.
He just put the suplex on him. Look. All right, we'll move on. Sorry.
Yeah. Jonathan Allen, stud. Let's talk about college football real quick. We'll just do it briefly.
I don't want to talk about college football.
2 games. Not really 2 games. USC, we already talked about him, fired Clay Helton. Let's see what they do. Weird. The Ohio State Buckeyes lose to the Oregon Ducks in a game that was, I think it finished 35-28 was the final score, if I remember correctly. I don't have it written down here. But to me, you're a Buckeyes fan. I'm a Buckeyes fan. You got the Ohio State logo hanging on your wall there. Did that game ever feel as close as a touchdown to you in that fourth quarter? Or were you just expecting that defense to just keep giving up points and running
100%.
yards?
100%. I mean, the defense was atrocious. The thing that irritated me the most, it was like they were getting picked apart not only by the same 6 to 7 plays, but they just would not get out of man coverage.
No.
They were getting destroyed in man coverage. They finally got out of man coverage at the beginning of the third quarter. They got 2 stops. They got back into the football game, and then they tried to go back to man coverage, and they continued to get destroyed. The defense was atrocious. The game was not – no, it was never as close as it looked. And people want to point to C.J. Stroud. I don't have any problem with the way C.J. Stroud played. I really don't. I mean, he threw for fucking 500 yards, and he was fine.
Second start of his career.
Thank
you for bringing that up, because if you didn't, I was.
Yeah, he was questionable. Like I don't want to say he was out of sorts for the first quarter and a half of the game, which is, I get it. He was overthrowing guys. You know how it. Remember when we first started watching Baker at the pro level? He got happy feet. He was overthrowing guys, and then he would settle into ball games.
It's kind of how Robinson, who was carrying 8 tons of weed with him to the game every week, protecting his blind side.
So, but I feel like C.J. Stroud is settled into the game, and this. I mean, he was fantastic, and the fact of the matter is, if you're going to continue to get beat on a outside read, and the cornerback's going to continue to try to shoot up the gap instead of fucking setting the edge, excuse my language, then you deserve to lose. And that's exactly what they did the entire game, and they deserve to lose.
When you're in man coverage, you're instantly turning your back to the quarterback. And the quarterback says, hey, look at all this space, baby. He's got all this space like this poster behind me. Can run for days. Took care of that.
And Oregon's a speed team.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I don't know.
Oregon, it was a noon start, which is 9 a.m. for Oregon. You had everything on your side. And there's 2 things. It's not C.J. Stroud. The defense and the fact that they can't find a running game. When you look at that defense, are there athletes there? Yes. Is there a Chase Young? No. Is there a Jeff Okudah? No. Do you have a Malik Hooker? No. You don't have those kind of athletes. They're all young. Has the defense been recruited as well as the offense? No, it has not. But for Ohio State, it was more of a scheme thing. They've still got athletes there that are good enough to stop them. Kerry Coombs, who was an excellent, I believe he was a cornerback coach, strength and conditioning coach, working there at some point.
Fire him right away.
Great guy.
No, I'm sure he's a great person.
People have loved, but as a defensive coordinator the past 2 seasons, or 3 seasons now, is it? He is not.
I can't be yelling on my couch what to do and have a better idea of him what to do.
Yeah,
that. It shouldn't happen. The only good thing from Oregon is the Oregon Trail. Leave it at that.
You died.
He died of pesticides.
Drew died of hunger because you couldn't shoot a deer with a gun that you were using the old school space bar to fire.
Such a good game.
It was. God, I played it not that long ago with my kids. You can find it
not
online.
that long ago. What do you have? You got floppy disk set up?
Couldn't imagine. Look, I got a floppy disk to play. Where do I put this?
What the hell is
thing?
this giant CD, square CD? Your kids probably don't even know what CDs are.
They have a website. I think it's OregonTrail.com, something as simple as that. You can go to and play Oregon Trail. They also had Carmen San Diego back in the day.
Where in the world is Carmen San? Wow.
Game. Yes.
Now I haven't thought of in years. That brings me back, dude. That's That's fantastic. I'm gonna have to check that out.
And hey, this is what you get from the full coverage football show. Like I said at the beginning, you have no idea where we're going to go because we don't know where we're going to end up. Bet you didn't expect to hear Oregon Trail and Carmen San Diego references. But yeah, Buckeyes. Got to fix that D. Kerry Coombs. Listen, Ryan Day came out. It's his first loss in the regular season ever. 23-0 going into this game. And Ryan Day came out with that. It was kind of a weird presser where it felt like he was trying to sound like Urban, where he was trying to sound like a tough guy. But Ryan Day's not Urban Meyer. Ryan Day's a little softer, usually laid back. But maybe this is the guy we haven't seen because we haven't seen him really lose. We'll see. Going into next week, they got to switch things up. Let's see how that happens. Let's move into our next segment. Second week, second guessing. I'm going to start it off. Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm second guessing your decision to not get a quarterback for this roster. Your defense is good enough to win you football games. Your quarterback, excellent player for a long time in this league, probably a Hall of Famer, doesn't have it anymore. He looks like a slow-ass tank out there, and he made a few throws that were okay. Claypool saved his ass on one, and Claypool will do that from time to time, but let's not
Good player. Good player.
He's fine. I still don't think he's as good as he showed last year, but maybe it's my Notre Dame bias. I don't know, but I'm second-guessing that decision. He is not the guy who's going to get you any further than maybe 9 wins, 10 wins, but you're not making the playoffs. And if you do, you're not going anywhere with him.
Did you freeze, my guy? All right. Well, I'll second guess them. I'll second guess the Chicago Bears starting Andy Dalton over Justin Fields.
Hey,
are you back?
listen, Spectrum. I pay extra for Spectrum Ultra, which is supposed to be amazing. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be able to do the show upstairs and Wi-Fi, no problem. And I'm looking at my signal, and there's 1 second where it shows 5 bars. And the next second, everything's a circle, and I can't see anything, and Drew's doing the show solo.
Get it together, Spectrum.
Starting next week, looks like I'm hardwiring this thing, and if it still sucks, well, fuck you up, Spectrum. That's how it goes.
Spectrum needs to know. Yeah, no, I'm going to question the fact that Matt Nagy and the Chicago Bears continue to try to tell themselves that Andy Dalton is a starter.
Red Rifle put together the most boring game of the weekend.
I get Matt Nagy saying that, hey, he told Andy Dalton that he was going to be the starter. But Matt Nagy needs to look out for his job at this point, because he's not sitting on some pedestal, especially with the fans in Chicago, Illinois. It's just not that simple. Everybody besides Matt Nagy knows, and Matt Nagy knows, that Justin Fields needs to start. They bring Justin Fields in, and I know this is silly, but he scores a touchdown. He was, 2 for 2, rushed for a touchdown. We know Justin Fields is a guy, and what are you prolonging, right? What is the benefit, especially if you are Matt Nagy and that coaching staff? What is the benefit for you to not play the guy that gives you the best chance of winning?
Andy Dalton.
So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears and the Andy Dalton, Justin Fields.
100% with you. Andy Dalton, listen, he didn't play terrible, but you can't tell me that Andy Dalton gives you a better chance to win right now.
We know who Andy Dalton is. We know who he is. It's not like he's a different Andy Dalton. It's not like the 2020 offseason was like this, he went to like a bath somewhere in like Brazil, and like he's younger and he's like, I got a better arm. Like, we know who Andy Dalton is. Get him the hell out of there. And I hate the Bears. The Bears. As far as I'm concerned, the Bears. But for the I just can't sit here and watch a coach just be an idiot. Like, his job is on the line. You need to know that this is the time to play the guy that gives you the best chance of winning the football game.
Listen, I feel bad for Andy Dalton because everyone on Twitter during that game, there was nothing else on my entire Twitter feed as I'm scrolling through. It's like, why isn't Justin Fields starting? Justin Fields. I'm like, all right, I get it. I feel bad for Dalton. He's a solid player, but he's
a solid backup at this point of his career.
When they signed Dalton, they instantly post on Twitter, the Bears Twitter feed posts QB1. And then they're like, you know what? Justin Fields slides to us. You get a shot at Justin Fields. Like, maybe we should second guess that. But Justin Fields is your future. Andy Dalton's not that good. It's not like Aaron Rodgers holding him back.
Andy Dalton's not going to save your job.
No.
That's what it
He's
comes
not.
down to. And Matt Nagy deserves all the, like, Matt Nagy came out and in his rookie year as a head coach was super innovative offensively. And now he's just he's become Jason Garrett.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are we doing
100%.
here?
That is an excellent comparison right there.
Thank
Can't
you.
argue that one bit. I mean, while we're second guessing things, second guessing, let's second guess all the people who are ready to write off Jamar Chase.
Damn it. That was my second guessing.
Woo!
But
Hit
all
it.
right, go
Let's
ahead.
Hear what you got. No, let's hear what you got.
No. Go ahead. Go with your second
Bengals
guess.
rookie wide receiver, Jamar Chase, who, yes, we have even said maybe they shouldn't have taken the Ferrari. They should have taken the dump truck. But Jamar Chase, we said he's by far the best wide receiver in this draft. He is an absolute stud who was away from football. We said, yes, he's struggling with the football. My deal last week, what was our deal? The way he said, oh, it's football's bigger and blah, blah, blah. Had some piss-ass excuse for it. But he comes out game one, and he balls out against the Minnesota Vikings to lead Cincinnati to a win at home in overtime. 27-24, I believe, was the final score of that one. Jamar Chase looked like an absolute star. And him and Joe Burrow looked like they were back at LSU. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Jamar Chase over 100 yards and a touchdown. First game as a rookie. I said I didn't think it was a big deal. Weird comments, but yeah, I'm with you 100%. My second guess will be people second guessing Amari Cooper.
Yes.
So and by the way, shitty injury situation for the Cowboys here in the last few days here. But that's a different point. But it's Panthers Lawrence. Texans next Thursday. Panthers Texans, folks. Set your calendars. Set your calendars. I will of course be knees deep in that because Christian McCaffrey. But second guessing Amari Cooper, who had 13 receptions, looked absolutely phenomenal, is a wonderful route runner. And that Dallas offense, and now what? Michael Gallup's hurt, so I think that they just continue to lean on with CeeDee Lamb, of course, but Amari Cooper's the wide receiver one on that team, and I think that he's going to be really good. A lot of people, again, were trying to talk themselves into the other two receivers on that team being the guy, but Amari Cooper seems to be that guy.
Amari Cooper, when healthy, top 5 wide receiver, and yeah, we said Keenan Allen also top 5. We have a lot of really good wide receivers in the league right now, a ton. And Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper are similar players, and they run routes better than almost anybody. And they always seem to be open. Amari Cooper, absolute stud. Michael Gallup's going to be there as another guy. And CeeDee Lamb, talking about that game, CeeDee Lamb still can't catch the ball at times. But when that guy gets the ball in his hands, there is nobody with better vision in any position in this game than what CeeDee Lamb has. The second
CeeDee Lamb
he is freakish.
He has the He makes the spectacular catch more routine than the regular routine catch, rather. And that's I don't know. But it seems like when the guy has to really fall. Oh, gee, here we go. Daniel Jones again. Will he fall down? Nope, he didn't. He didn't fall down. Oh, there's a flag. Bring it back. All right. Anyway.
Danny
Dimes. Did that give you flashbacks of the
turf?
It was probably a Thursday night football game, and we were probably sitting here just saying, "Oh my God, Danny Dimes!" And then he fell flat on his face. Oh, yep, and there's the holding, and everything's right in the world.
And Danny is tired, and he's going to get sacked on the next play.
Absolutely gassed. All right, I'm sorry. We'll move on.
100%. And you got anything else you want to second guess before we move on from this?
You know what? I don't think so. I had some others, but you know what? I'm going to lay off them because I'm not sure if I'm second guessing them or if I'm getting the first week vibe of everybody else where I just need to sit back and calm down a little bit.
I do want to second guess all the people writing off the Cleveland Browns being 0-1 right now. A lot of people I see on Twitter. Listen, yes, we know I'm a Browns fan. And I will admit that. However,
let's talk about the game real quick. No, before you write them off, let's talk about it real quick. Talk about the game. We'll talk about the Lions game real quick too. Go ahead.
Cleveland Browns played an excellent game. didn't finish. What did we learn? Same thing we learned about them last year. They're a really good football team, but they tend to beat themselves. You look 4 for 4 in the red zone, 4 rushing touchdowns. Baker played one of his best games yet. Threw an interception at the end. Was he trying to throw it away? We don't know. What else do we know?
Yes,
Kansas City?
Yes, he was. Yeah, what do you mean we don't know? Yeah, he was clearly trying to throw the football away.
I'm not in his head. I don't know what he was saying at the time.
What do you mean? Hang on a damn second. What do you mean? You think he wasn't trying to throw that ball out of bounds?
I think he was. But there are doubters who say what he was trying to make.
Those people are dumb. Those people are dumb.
I'm not going to say I know exactly what he was doing.
There were 16 cornerbacks surrounding that sideline. He was trying to throw it out of bounds.
Credit to Nick Sorensen for making the play. What happened to them? They fumbled. Nick Chubb fumbled. The Scottish Hammer panicked after he dropped the punt. Had plenty of time to kick that ball. Instead, he ran around like he was hammered at the pub back in Scotland. And the Browns beat themselves.
So I agree to an extent. And the play that changed the game was the ridiculous Tyreek Hill bomb. Yeah. That's what changed the entire football game, because that was a ridiculous. The fact that you gave up that play and that moment is inexcusable. And I get it's single coverage, but for God's sake, you cannot let Tyreek Hill catch the ball and move. Like there wasn't any excuse for it. That changed the entire game. But for a Cleveland Browns fan, Baker Mayfield was fantastic. And you just went up against the team that's been in the Super Bowl the last 2 years.
Yep.
So there's absolutely no, and to be honest with you, the Browns feasted. They did whatever they wanted to offensively, whether it was run the ball, play action, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. It didn't matter who it was. They were dominant. Now, I'd like to see them keep the foot on the throttle for the entire game. Like, I get the situation, but let's roll. Like, keep because you're not going to beat the
Their
Chiefs.
Buttholes puckered up.
Yeah, you're not going to beat the Chiefs that way. You just have to go out and score as much as you can, and you can't let your foot off the accelerator. If you lose that way and you make a dumb mistake and that's the way it is, then so be it. Chris, tell him it's his dumb internet. Tell him that Spectrum needs to get it together. He's just a still-faced man at this point. Well, I guess we can talk about the Lions game. I don't know. Are you coming back? You back? Hey, he's back. He's back. Welcome back.
I'm just sitting here getting more and more pissed as I see the little circles. But yeah, Browns, definitely a really good football team. Kansas City just better. And stop trying to single cover Tyreek Hill. It doesn't work. Why is Denzel Ward not staying on him the entire time? Why you got a safety downfield with him? Didn't work. Tyreek Hill's a bad man. And why do you have Malcolm Smith covering Travis Kelce constantly? Didn't you
change the whole game, dude? It changed the whole game.
Browns puckered, their assholes puckered up. They got tight in the end. Whole staff, whole roster, it happened. They still were in that football game to win it at the end.
Because they didn't give up the big play. They didn't give up the big play the whole game until that point. And it was like, okay, shit. You're like, it was that simple. I mean, a valiant effort on the road at Arrowhead. Like, I think that this team, and I think this team's different from the team that we'll see in week 16, 17. OBJ's a pussy. But we'll, and I so I definitely think it's going to be a different team down the road.
OBJ is being held out, hopefully because the Browns are being smart, and that's the only thing I'm going to go with. Maybe he's a pussy, maybe he's not. Hopefully they're holding him out because they're trying.
I heard somebody say 4 to 6 weeks. Is that a real thing?
You heard
that? 4 to 6 weeks?
I have not heard that yet. But hey, listen, I don't care about the first few weeks. You got to win football games, but you don't need OBJ for the first few weeks. You need him down.
Houston's tough, dude. You seen Tyrod?
We'll see how good Houston is. And Tyrod, this is a revenge game.
I don't know if it's really a revenge.
It's a revenge game
for
Tyrod.
Are we doing that? Are we doing that? Are we saying it's a revenge game for Tyrod Taylor?
It is a
It's like he'll have a revenge game like 8 games this year.
Yeah,
8 games this year.
That's like Ryan Fitzpatrick's entire schedule. But Pharaoh Brown, it will be a revenge game. Brush kid, not far from Cleveland. I mean, he's already said it's a revenge game for him, but he's a tight end. We'll see what happens with Pharaoh Brown. Let's talk about the Lions. Before we get to the game, are they ever going to make up with Megatron?
So here's
Yes
the
or
one
no?
thing. I don't know. Yes, they will. They will.
Okay.
Here's the one thing that I do want to say, though. I don't think that, Jesus God, I can't get the damn thing straight. So here's the one thing I'll say is I don't think that like you can actually just pay the guy straight 1.6 million cash. I feel like that's not like an NFL thing. I don't think you can just wire the guy 1.6 million and make it go away. So the Lions
That's all he wants.
Well, I know, but the Lions did offer him like, dude, imagine this. Imagine this. You work 28 hours a year and you get $500,000.
I've worked 28 hours the past 2 days.
Yeah.
And I made
and
like
you got
$50.
$5. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's like, okay, I get everybody just like, well, just pay him the money. Just pay him the money. I just don't think that that's actually how it works under the NFL system. So we have to take that into perspective. But it needs to be cleared up. And I think that Calvin needs to figure out a way to make that happen on his end too, because I think it's got to be one way or the other. But I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of it. It's like I want the best player in our franchise's second best player in our franchise's history.
I was gonna
say to be around the team and be around Barry, right? Barry's super involved with the team, as is Lomas Brown, as is Herman Moore. Like, I love that. That's great. We want Calvin around, and Calvin still resides and has a house in Michigan. So make it work. But again, it's not like as easy as just sending somebody a $1.6 million check.
Yep.
It doesn't work that way. So I don't know.
How'd you feel about the way your team played week 1?
Not good. I mean, the comeback's fine. Whatever.
The comeback was, I mean,
it was an onside kick and like listen, I love Jared Goff's got to push the football down the field. He's got to push the football down the field.
He threw that 7 passes downfield, like further than 7 yards.
Yeah, he's got to, and I get that. Listen, we're a bad football team. I will say next Monday night, I will be watching the game strictly with Peyton and Eli.
Absolutely. I was hoping we'd bring that up. Anybody who watches Monday Night Football, watch the Peyton and Eli feed. It's excellent just to hear Eli rip on Peyton and Peyton rip on Eli. Eli, way funnier than I ever expected, talking about the prescription helmet that Peyton had to get, or asking Ray Lewis if he'd rather have a helmet filled or Peyton's helmet filled with quarters or $10,000 cash. And for Ray Lewis to say Peyton's helmet filled with quarters because it's that damn big.
It was good. It was good. And listen,
ESPN
the Lions, though.
ESPN Plus has the MegaCast where you can get that and more screens. That's the way to do it if you have ESPN Plus.
All right, please don't plug ESPN on the show. I'm not going to do it. We're not going to do that. No,
you
were plugging the shit out of them, so just back up a little bit.
Hey, listen.
Oh, if you have ESPN Plus, you can get multiple. That's plugging ESPN.
I will give ESPN Plus credit for that and the fact that I can watch 8 college football games at once. That's about it. And Peyton's Places. Basically, ESPN Plus you have to get a lot of Peyton Manning feed.
You have to have ESPN Plus to get away from ESPN. That's what it seems like.
To get away from Stephen A. And now he's got a show on there.
But no, the Lions, I like DeAndre Swift. He was, of course, on a snap count, but the thing is he was on a snap count until the team got behind 4,700 points. And then they started to use DeAndre Swift. I think the Jamal Williams
football.
DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams backfield is going to be a thing, and I think it's going to produce. And TJ Hawkinson was very good. I think he had 97 yards. So there were some good things to see from the offense, but this offense is exactly what I imagined it to be, a dink and dunk offense. Mm-hmm. And at some point, we're going to have to push the ball down the field, and I know the receivers aren't there. Defensively, it's kind of what we expected. Yep. I mean, listen, I know this team's going to win like 5 games or 6 games. Like, I get it. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not, like, I'm not out here going to tell you, like, the Lions are going to be awesome because they're certainly not going to be. But the one thing I will say is the team fought their ass off in the second half, and that's something that I like to see. The Jeff Okudah out for the season injury is gutting to me, and it's gutting to me too because he's at a really good camp, and I think he's a good kid. So that sucks, and so I mean, it's kind of what I expected. The comeback though shows me that maybe that they're buying in Dan Campbell, and that's all I want. I don't need to see a ton of wins. I need to see progress in the process as far as building a team that wants to play for their coach and play for their respective coaches, whether it's no C, DC, DB coach, linebacker, whatever it is. That's just kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I was impressed with the way they fought back, and that to be down that far and basically have your ass handed to you the whole game, and for your quarterback to basically be throwing 2 yard.
Oh Lord, we got it again. Let me give you guys an update on the Washington Redskins the New York Giants at the Washington Redskins. Taylor Heineke's 4 for 4 with 43 yards on this drive. Really moving the football well. Just a pass to Logan Thomas there. Tripped up J.D. McKissick. That's rough to see. So that's an update. Hopefully Jeremy will get his spinning shit back together here at some point. Hey, there he is. All right.
Yeah, next week we're hardwiring it, see how it works. Spectrum, why do I pay so much for internet if you suck? Anyway, what I was saying is good for the Lions.
I could go on a 30-minute rant on Spectrum, but I won't.
One day we're just gonna have the Spectrum Blow show.
I got a freaking internet called Wow. It's called Wow, and it's 100 times better than the internet I had with Spectrum. And it's probably a fraction of the cost. It's called Wow.
Wow.
That's the name of the company. It seems ridiculous, but they're way better than them. So shout out to Wow and their people.
And it's crap. It's annoying, Spectrum. Anyway, thing I want to talk about with your Lions, big thing for me is how good did Penny Sewell look at left tackle?
Yeah.
It looked really damn good at left tackle.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but and he looked fantastic. But then when Taylor Decker comes back, then we're in this weird predicament, right? We're in this weird predicament. Now, Taylor Decker did play right tackle in college, but Penei Sewell looked way more comfortable at the left tackle position. Dude, you don't just go in and kind of bully around Nick Bosa in your first game. And that's kind of what he did. He held his own all day long.
Yeah. Oregon just whooped Ohio State's ass even in the pros that night.
I mean, I was kind of, I don't want to say I was blown away, but for a rookie to walk into that role, and I think Slaughter did the same thing with the Chargers. He was fantastic.
5th ranked player and 4th ranked player in the draft.
Yeah, and so Rashard Slaughter but I think that the way Penei Sewell played is if he continues it for the next 3 to 4 weeks, it's going to be hard when Taylor Decker comes back, who's, by the way, an all-pro left tackle. The one good thing about the Lions team right now is the offensive line, and so it'll be interesting to see how they do that. But yeah, good reps are better than bad reps. So I don't care if he's a left tackle or right tackle. We'll deal with it when we get there. You know what I mean?
Yep. It's smart. Are we ready to move on to picking some games?
Let's do it.
All right, game picks. I went 11-5 last week. Drew went 10-6, so I got a lead that I'm going to blow at some point during the season already. Let's get into the games. Here we go. New York Giants and Washington football team. It's a 10-7 game. We won't even worry about picking this, but who do you think is going to end up winning this game?
Washington.
I hope you're right. I'm going with Washington as well. All right, let's go to our first Sunday game. Live from Bank of America Stadium in beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina. We got the New Orleans Saints 1-0 taking on the Carolina Panthers. Jameis against Sammy D. Chris Myers and Daryl Johnson on the call on Fox for this one.
I will go with Jameis here.
I also will take Jameis. Listen, I think Sammy D had a good first week, but it was against the Jets, a team that's still growing and building. We'll see how things are later on in the year, but I don't trust Sammy D. However, how nice was it to see Christian McCaffrey back on the field? Didn't get 100 yards receiving, didn't get 100 yards rushing, but did like 95 of each still. Just he's a stud.
It's a wild that he's as good as he is at this level. I mean, he's the top-notch guy. We're talking fantasy. There's no other guy you'd ever have otherwise Christian McCaffrey. And for his team, I mean, think of what he does for the Carolina Panthers. It's when he's on the field, it actually makes everybody better. But they just gonna feed the guy the ball because talk about running between the tackles. Christian McCaffrey does it without a problem.
Yep.
Christian McCaffrey is a complete back. And not only is he a complete back, he's a wide receiver running back because he puts up those kind of numbers and those kind of yardage, especially on a PPR percentage if we're talking fantasy.
100% with you. Next game, the Cincinnati Bengals 1-0 travel to the 0-1 Andy Dalton Red Rifle led Chicago Bears. Bengals get another win, go to 2-0 at Soldier Field, or you think the Bears?
I'm taking Cincinnati.
I also am taking Cincinnati. I am big on Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow coming back from that ACL, 20-27 last week, 261 yards, 2 scores. I mean, Joe Burrow looked like he didn't miss a step after that ACL injury. And the offensive line, to their credit, held up for the most part. They weren't good. They weren't great. I'm saying they were good. They weren't great. But how about Evan McPherson kicking that game-tying field goal with, it was like 55-yarder.
Yep. Clutch.
And that's a rookie kicker, but we knew he had a big leg coming out of Florida. Clutch to him. Jamar Chase looks like a stud. Joe Mixon, 29 carries, 127 yards. Props to Zach Taylor for getting good balance in that game and not making Burrow do it all. And Larry Ogunjobi, former Cleveland Brown, had an excellent football game. Speaking of Cleveland Browns, they welcome in for their home opener in front of the dog pound, finally back in front of a home crowd. The Houston Texans 1-0 against 0-1. Houston come in with David Culley and keep going.
I'll take Houston.
You're taking Houston?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not taking Houston. I'll take the Browns.
This is the game the Browns need to show that their defense is better and faster, which I think they will. I think you played a fairly good game against the Kansas City Chiefs, but Pat Mahomes, only time he had a long, deep drop and dropped too far, that's when he got sacked by Clowney and Myles Garrett. But that defense, secondary especially, needs to step up. Let's see what Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah can do, and stop putting Mack Wilson on the field. The guy can't play dead. Browns win this game. I think easily it should be a blowout. Lots of yards.
It's funny. Remember 2 years ago when everybody thought Mack Wilson was the guy?
Because he picked off 2 passes against Washington that Dwayne Haskins threw right in his arms. Listen, Mack Wilson came out a year too early, according to Nick Saban, and he hasn't developed since.
Oh, okay. Well, Nick Saban.
But hey, Matt Stafford led in Los Angeles, travels to Indianapolis to face the 0-1 Indianapolis Colts. Who you got, the Rams or the Colts?
I'll go Staff.
Hard to go against them. They look pretty good. And my guy Van Jefferson finally had a touchdown, a long one.
I hope they lose every game.
Hey, they might.
Except not. The one that they already won.
Yeah, they might. Who knows? Colts. Carson Wentz didn't look terrible. I'll give him credit on that. Naheem Hines got a big contract extension, 10th highest paid running back in the league now. 3 years, $18 million. Good for him. Denver Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater. Traveled to Jacksonville to face the Urban Meyer-led
Give me Teddy.
Trevor Lawrence.
Just give me Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go Teddy.
And I don't. It's not that the problem that I have is Urban Meyer just going to go ahead and ruin Trevor Lawrence? Is that what he plans to do?
Where was James Robinson that game? Like,
no. He ran him like 5 times successfully, and then he decided to just throw every time.
Carlos Hyde had 9 carries for 44 yards.
Of course he did. Because he's a Buckeye. He's a Buckeye.
It's not 2011.
Yeah, it's not. It's not going to be.
How crazy is it that it's the first regular season loss in Trevor Lawrence's entire football career? Absolutely insane. And the first time he's thrown 3 interceptions. Trevor Lawrence, pretty good football player, but hey, Teddy Bridgewater played his ass off. 28 of 36, 264 yards, 2 scores. I mean, pretty good deal. I like the way he looked. And Javonte Williams looked solid. Melvin Gordon looked solid. Give me the Broncos. Buffalo Bills 0-1. Travel to division leading Miami 1-0. Bills, I'm taking them as well. That's easy. Even though Miami looks solid, I think really Damian Harris's fumble late in the 4th iced that game for the Dolphins. New England Patriots 0-1, led by Mac Jones, travel to the Zach Wilson-led New York Jets. Pats dropped to 0-2?
No. They beat the Jets.
Sticking with the same. This is exciting. San Francisco 1-0 travels to Philadelphia. Who's 2-0 at the end of that game?
I'm going to go with Philly.
Okay, here's where we finally differ. I was thinking about taking Philly, but I can't go against the Niners. They looked really good.
They did? Well, they were playing the Lions, so
They were.
get
And
together.
Vegas travels to the East Coast after a Monday night football game, 1-0 to face the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we didn't even talk about that game. What a game on Monday night. That was a really fun football game, and it was especially fun to see the Ravens lose. Do the Raiders travel to the East Coast and get a victory, or the Pittsburgh Steelers move to 2-0 because they're facing a team on short rest traveling to the East Coast?
I'll go Steelers.
Taking the Steelers. I am going to take the Raiders because I think they will use Josh Jacobs, even though he's struggling with the turf toe. And I liked what they did with Kenyon Drake and Darren Waller, who I think had 26 passes thrown his way, 26 targets.
Going away. Hello. All right, he's out again. He's out. I guess Spectrum needs to have a call. They need to have a call. He's a frozen person again. His picks are terrible anyway. So I'll go to the next game. I will go to Atlanta and Tampa Bay. Straight pick 'em. I'm taking Tampa Bay, but the 12.5 points is very juicy for you bettors on that side. You may want to look into the 12.5 and take those points. As far as that goes, Minnesota, Arizona. I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals. Listen, Minnesota was not good last week. Justin Jefferson wasn't what we expected Justin Jefferson to be. Dalvin Cook is somewhat limited on the ground. We know that's what their offense runs through. So I will go ahead and take Arizona. Tennessee at Seattle. I liked what I saw from Seattle last week. I will go with Russ, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and the crew. So I will take Seattle in that one with Dallas at the Chargers. So this one I'm going to take Dallas. I know that we talked about the great things that are Justin Herbert and whatnot from that standpoint. And in Justin Herbert, again, I think the stats kind of don't tell the whole Justin Herbert story. Last week against the Washington football team, 7 drops, 2 drops in the end zone. So we'll go ahead, but we're still going to take Dallas here. And I think Dallas is able to run the ball better than they were against Tampa Bay, which I think makes their offense better. Now, I don't know if the offense is necessarily the worry when we come to the Dallas Cowboys. But again, I don't know if the offense is the worry necessarily with them. They've got to get it going defensively. They did some interesting things with rotating linebackers last week based off of scheme and whatnot. So I'm still going to go with Dallas on the road against the Chargers. What's up, dude?
What's up? I'm just shopping for internet at WoW over here. The show is becoming a commercial for WoW internet. Let's just say that Spectrum blows even more because now all of a sudden my whole internet went out during the show. Talking about Dallas. That was interesting what they did with the linebackers. I will say that. You want to finish picking games and get out of here with some word wagers before the internet goes back out again?
Yeah, we'll go KC Baltimore. You want to run with it?
We're at Minnesota and Arizona. Who'd you have?
Arizona.
Yeah, I figured on that one. What's your game, KC Baltimore?
That's the one we're picking out. I'll take KC.
I'll take KC. I hope Baltimore goes 2-2. Atlanta and Tampa. Both taking Tampa.
Yeah, I took Tampa.
All right. Let's see who we got else. Dallas and the Chargers. I'm liking the Chargers. Who you got?
Dallas.
Nice. It's nice when we don't agree on every single game here. I do hope that is a fun game to watch at least. That is a 4:25 kickoff, right? Yep. At Los Angeles. Titans and Seahawks.
Seahawks.
I will also take the Seahawks. Kansas City and Baltimore took. Lions, Packers. Packers bounce back, or is Aaron Rodgers done?
Packers.
All right. Thank for everyone sticking along with us and for Drew for hosting most of the show because Spectrum sucks balls. And before we move on, we got to have the best part of the show. Let me see if I can get this music to come up. See if we can hop in.
With MailChimp's marketing smarts,
they're going to give us this.
You get a whole lot of creative smart.
We'll get into it in a second. But we're going to go to Ward's Wagers. 2-2 last week. I'm going to skip the ad, get your music on here.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Ward's Wagers 2-2 last week, sponsored by Latani CBD Olive Oil. Order call 440-479-4832 or email anandamij@gmail.com. Brother, what you got for us this week?
Yeah, man. So I'm going to go with Buffalo. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. They're -3.5 on the road in Miami. I think that Buffalo bounces back in a big way. I'm actually going to take Atlanta with the points, which is 12.5. That's a lot of points on the road in Tampa Bay. I expect them to bounce back. I will also take the Arizona Cardinals -3.5. Jeremy knows that I'm big in on Arizona this year. And then my final bet will be Kansas City -3.5 on the road in Baltimore.
I dig those picks. 2-2 last week. 500 start. Still staying head above water right now. We're good. Move on this week. Go 4-0.
We're up with college picks. We feel good about the college picks. We're not going to get into them this week. It's more NFL oriented, but we're 5-3, I think, with the college picks.
Yep.
We're in the green. We're in the green.
Looking good. Throw those in. You're 5-3. That puts you at 7-5 on the year overall. 2-2 last week. Going 4-0 this week. Anything else you want to talk about before my internet goes out because Spectrum blows?
That's it, man. I hope you get a better internet. Wow.
Yeah, hey, I'm over here looking, checking out WoW right now.
All right, best deal of the year they have going on right now.
Yeah, I mean $19.99.
What do you say to that? You say wow?
I say Internet 100. Wow, amazing.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I'm looking over at my TV and it's telling me we're having trouble playing this because the internet went out and I haven't reset the TV yet. So
I work from home, so they offer like a $10 boost of shit or whatever it is to get up to 1 gigabyte. You just take that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to look into this, check availability. We'll get in there. I don't need to put out all my information on the show here, but hey, whatever. I won't shop for internet to bore you guys. Thank you, everyone, for listening and hanging out. Thank you, Drew, for hosting most of the show there. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Hope everyone enjoys their weekend, has a good weekend, and enjoys some football. We got a lot of good football Saturday and Sunday. And hey, just think, 1 o'clock on Sunday, we're going to hear those great words. 7 hours commercial free. Football, which is my favorite part of the weekend. As soon as I hear that, I'm like, yeah, baby. Anyway, before I get all Austin Powers on you, remember, as always, if you live the life you love the life you live. Night, kids.